I stared at Tyler Morrison across the sleek conference table, my hands trembling as his words echoed through the glass-walled room. "You're obsolete. Get out." The 22-year-old founder's son leaned back in his leather chair, adjusting his designer watch while security guards flanked the doorway. 15 years of dedication to Morrison Design Group meant nothing to this spoiled brat who inherited power without earning respect. My phone buzzed against the mahogany surface. Unknown number. I answered on speaker, too shocked to think clearly. "This is SwiftGo Architecture. We saw you're available. We're offering double your current salary." Tyler's laughter filled the room as he waved dismissively. "Take it, Benita, perfect timing." Then the conference room door burst open and Harold Morrison stumbled inside, his face pale as winter snow, staring at his son in horror. The elevator descended 30 floors while my career crumbled around me. Security had escorted me out like a criminal. My personal belongings hastily shoved into a cardboard box that now sat beside me in my sedan. I drove through downtown traffic in complete silence, unable to process what had just happened in that sterile conference room. 12 years ago, I had walked into Morrison Design Group as a junior architect, fresh from graduate school, carrying blueprints and dreams of designing buildings that would change skylines. Harold Morrison himself had interviewed me, impressed by my thesis on sustainable commercial architecture. He became my mentor, teaching me how environmental consciousness could coexist with profitable construction. Under his guidance, I developed expertise in green building certification, energy-efficient design, and innovative materials that reduced environmental impact without compromising structural integrity. My reputation grew alongside Morrison's success. The Grandview Shopping Center earned LEED Platinum certification, thanks to my solar integration design. The Westfield corporate campus reduced energy consumption by 35% through my natural lighting concepts. 3 national architecture awards lined my office walls, each one representing months of meticulous planning and creative problem-solving. At 32, I stood at the peak of my professional capabilities. My sustainable designs attracted clients from across the region, drawn by my ability to create beautiful buildings that operated efficiently and responsibly. Young architects sought my mentorship, eager to learn techniques I had refined through years of trial and innovation. My modest apartment felt suffocating as I set the cardboard box on my kitchen counter. The silence pressed against my ears until my phone shattered the quiet with its persistent buzzing. Text messages flooded my screen faster than I could read them. Sarah from accounting wrote, "Cannot believe Tyler fired you. Already posted job listings for young tech-savvy architects. This place is going insane." David from structural engineering called immediately, his voice shaking with anger. "Benita, what Tyler did today was completely unacceptable. Everyone here is furious. You built this company's reputation single-handedly while he was still learning to tie his shoes. Half the senior staff is talking about quitting." More messages arrived each minute. Lisa from project management sent photos of Tyler celebrating with his college fraternity brothers in the executive conference room, their feet propped on the table where I used to present design proposals to major clients. Emma, Harold's longtime assistant, called crying about the chaos erupting throughout the building. Meanwhile, Harold Morrison's private jet touched down at the airport 2 hours earlier than scheduled. His assistant had reached him during a business meeting in Chicago, frantically explaining Tyler's sudden power grab. Harold's blood pressure medication barely contained his rising panic as he realized his son had fired the woman responsible for 80% of their major contracts. Racing through traffic in his company car, Harold replayed every conversation he had ever had with Tyler about business management and employee relations. Had he failed to communicate the value of experienced professionals? Had Tyler completely misunderstood the architecture industry's emphasis on proven expertise over youthful enthusiasm? Harold burst through Morrison Design Group's glass entrance, his dress shoes clicking against marble floors as he marched toward the executive suites. Employees scattered like startled birds, recognizing the thunderous expression on their founder's face. Harold had built this company through careful relationship building and respect for talent, not through reckless personnel decisions that destroyed reputations overnight. He found Tyler in his main conference room, surrounded by 4 college friends who were treating the space like their personal entertainment center. Empty beer bottles cluttered the presentation table, while loud music played through the room's sound system. Tyler's feet rested on the mahogany surface where billion-dollar construction proposals had been signed. "Did you just send our lead architect to our biggest rival?" Harold demanded, his voice echoing through the building's corridors. Tyler's smirk evaporated as he realized his father had returned early from Chicago. The college friends quickly gathered their belongings and slipped out through the side door, sensing the approaching confrontation. "She was holding us back, Dad," Tyler said defensively. "Young architects understand artificial intelligence and modern design software. Benita's methods are outdated. I made a smart business decision." Harold stared at his son, struggling to comprehend such profound ignorance about their industry. Benita's expertise in sustainable architecture represented the future of construction, not the past. Environmental regulations were tightening annually, requiring sophisticated knowledge that took decades to master. Tyler had just discarded their most valuable asset based on age bias and technological misunderstanding. "Son, you have no idea what you've done," Harold whispered, sinking into his leather chair as the magnitude of Tyler's mistake became clear. The conference room fell silent except for the distant hum of air conditioning and the faint sound of worried conversations from employees throughout the building. The upscale restaurant's floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city's financial district, where glass towers reflected the late afternoon sun like mirrors. Catherine Wells, SwiftGo Architecture's CEO, sat across from me at a corner table, her silver hair pulled back in an elegant bun that spoke of confidence and authority. At 55, she possessed the sharp intelligence of someone who had navigated the male-dominated architecture industry for 3 decades. "Benita, I'll be direct with you." Catherine began, setting down her coffee cup with deliberate precision. "We've been monitoring your work at Morrison for exactly 2 years and 4 months. Your sustainable architecture portfolio is extraordinary, particularly your integration of renewable energy systems with traditional construction methods." She opened a leather portfolio and spread several documents across the white tablecloth. "SwiftGo has struggled to break into the green building market that you essentially created in this region. Our attempts to recruit environmental specialists have failed because we lack the reputation and client relationships that you've spent over a decade building." Catherine's offer took my breath away. $160,000 annually, plus 15,000 shares of company stock, plus a $50,000 signing bonus to be deposited within 72 hours of contract execution. My current Morrison salary had been $75,000 with minimal benefits and no equity participation. "But here's what makes this conversation truly remarkable," Catherine continued, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "SwiftGo has spent 6 months consulting with employment lawyers about how to approach you without triggering contract violation lawsuits. Your Morrison agreement included a strict no-compete clause that would have made recruiting you legally complicated and expensive." She gestured toward the restaurant's windows where Morrison Design Group's building stood visible 12 blocks away. "Tyler Morrison just eliminated our biggest obstacle. By terminating your employment, he freed you to join us immediately with 0 legal complications. Our lawyers confirmed this morning that his decision nullifies any restrictive covenants in your original contract." Catherine explained SwiftGo's ambitious expansion strategy. They were launching a dedicated green building division with plans to pursue LEED-certified projects exclusively. The division needed a leader with proven expertise in environmental design, solar integration, water conservation systems, and energy efficiency optimization. "We want you to head this new division with complete creative control," Catherine said. "You'll have 12 architects reporting directly to you, plus access to our structural engineers, project managers, and client development team. No interference from executives who don't understand environmental architecture." As we talked, Catherine revealed information that made my heart race with possibility and vindication. Morrison Design Group was already hemorrhaging major clients. The Riverside Mall renovation project, worth $3.2 million, had specifically requested my involvement in their original proposal. The contract included language requiring my personal oversight of all sustainability features. The Greenfield office complex, valued at $5.8 million, had even more specific requirements. Their environmental compliance officer had worked with me on 2 previous projects and insisted that Benita Rodriguez personally approve all green building certifications. Without my involvement, they could legally terminate their agreement and seek alternative contractors. Catherine, I appreciate this incredible opportunity, I said carefully, but I need to understand SwiftGo's commitment to authentic environmental responsibility. Too many firms use sustainability as marketing without genuine dedication to ecological principles. Catherine smiled and pulled out another folder. Last month, we turned down a $12 million casino project because their environmental impact would have contradicted our values. We're not interested in greenwashing or superficial compliance with regulations. We want to build structures that genuinely improve communities while protecting natural resources. She showed me detailed plans for SwiftGo's new headquarters, scheduled for construction next year. Solar panels would generate 60% of the building's electricity. Rainwater collection systems would supply irrigation for rooftop gardens. Advanced insulation and natural lighting would reduce energy consumption by 40% compared to conventional office buildings. This is your chance to build something revolutionary, Catherine said, sliding a contract across the table. Not just individual projects, but an entire approach to architecture that prioritizes environmental stewardship while achieving commercial success. For the first time since Tyler's humiliating dismissal that morning, hope flickered in my chest. SwiftGo offered everything Morrison had denied me: creative freedom, financial security, and leadership that understood my vision for sustainable construction. The irony was perfect. Tyler's arrogance had handed me an opportunity far better than anything I could have achieved while remaining at Morrison Design Group. I picked up the pen Catherine offered and signed my name to the contract, officially beginning a new chapter of my career, while Tyler celebrated his short-sighted victory 12 blocks away. The architecture industry operates like a small town where everyone knows everyone else's business. Within 48 hours of my departure from Morrison Design Group, trade publications picked up the story with headlines that sent shockwaves through professional circles. Rising star architect jumps to rival firm after shocking termination appeared on Architectural Review's website, followed by industry veteran joins SwiftGo following controversial firing in Building Design magazine. My first day at SwiftGo began at 7 in the morning when Catherine Wells introduced me to my new team in a spacious conference room overlooking the harbor. 12 talented architects stood around a granite table covered with project proposals and blueprints. Their excitement was contagious as they explained current initiatives and shared ideas for sustainable construction innovations. Benita brings exactly the expertise we've been missing, Catherine announced to the assembled group. Her leadership will transform SwiftGo into this region's premier environmental architecture firm. But even as I settled into my new role, the consequences of Tyler Morrison's decision began cascading through the construction industry like an avalanche. The first domino fell at exactly 9:37 that morning when Jennifer Rodriguez, project manager at Greenfield Development, called Harold Morrison's private line. "Mr. Morrison, we need to discuss our office complex contract immediately," Jennifer said, her voice tense with legal authority. "Our agreement specifically names Benita Rodriguez as lead architect for all environmental systems. Section 12 clearly states that any personnel changes affecting key project roles must receive our written approval 30 days in advance." Harold's stomach dropped as he listened to Jennifer explain Greenfield's position. Their environmental compliance officer had built a relationship with me over 3 previous collaborations. The office complex's sustainability features required expertise that couldn't be easily replaced by younger architects, regardless of their technical skills. "We're exercising our termination clause effective immediately," Jennifer continued. "Greenfield Development cannot risk environmental certification failures due to inadequate supervision. Our legal department will send termination paperwork this afternoon." $5.8 million evaporated from Morrison's project pipeline in a single phone conversation. The second blow arrived an hour later when Robert Chen, CEO of Riverside Properties, personally visited Morrison's offices. Harold met him in the same conference room where Tyler had fired me 24 hours earlier. Robert's expression revealed barely contained frustration as he explained his position. "Harold, I've worked with Benita on 3 retail projects over the past 4 years," Robert said, placing a folder on the conference table. "Her innovative approach to sustainable retail spaces helped our shopping centers achieve energy savings that exceeded our projections by 30%. When we hired Morrison for the mall renovation, We specifically requested her involvement. Robert opened the folder to reveal the original contract with my name, highlighted in yellow throughout the environmental compliance sections. Without Benita's oversight, we cannot guarantee that our renovation will meet LEED certification requirements. Our investors expect environmental credentials that increase property value and attract eco-conscious tenants. Harold watched helplessly as Robert signed a contract termination notice, officially canceling the $3.2 million mall renovation project. I'm sorry, Harold, but Tyler's decision has created unacceptable project risks. Riverside Properties will be seeking alternative contractors immediately. The third catastrophe struck that afternoon when Dean Patricia Hamilton from Metropolitan University called an emergency meeting. Harold drove to the campus hoping to salvage their most valuable contract, a $15 million student center that would have been Morrison's largest project this year. Dean Hamilton met Harold in her office surrounded by architectural magazines featuring my previous work. "Mr. Morrison, I must be frank about our situation," she began. "When we selected your firm for our student center, Benita Rodriguez's innovative approach to educational architecture was the deciding factor. Her designs for student spaces that promote both learning and environmental awareness aligned perfectly with our institutional values." She gestured toward a wall display showing sustainable architecture examples from universities across the country. Metropolitan University cannot proceed with a contractor who no longer employs the architect we specifically chose. Our Board of Trustees expects this project to serve as a model for environmentally responsible construction. Harold attempted to explain that Morrison employed other qualified architects who could maintain project quality, but Dean Hamilton remained unconvinced. "With respect, Mr. Morrison, your son's decision to terminate Benita suggests fundamental disagreements about environmental priorities. We cannot risk our reputation on a firm that dismisses sustainability expertise." The student center cancellation hit Harold like a physical blow. $15 million represented nearly 30% of Morrison's annual revenue. Combined with the previous cancellations, Tyler's firing decision had eliminated over $24 million from their project portfolio in less than 48 hours. Harold returned to Morrison's offices that evening to find Tyler celebrating at a nearby sports bar with his fraternity friends, completely oblivious to the financial apocalypse unfolding around him. Emma, Harold's assistant, had left a stack of additional contract termination notices on his desk. Smaller clients were also reconsidering their relationships with Morrison, concerned about the firm's commitment to environmental standards. Meanwhile, I spent my evening at SwiftGo reviewing project proposals and getting acquainted with my new team's capabilities. Catherine Wells joined me in the conference room as I examined blueprints for upcoming bids. "I have some interesting news," Catherine said with a satisfied smile. 3 major clients have already reached out to SwiftGo expressing interest in transferring their projects. It seems Morrison's sudden change in environmental priorities has created opportunities for us. She placed a folder on the table containing preliminary inquiries from Greenfield Development Riverside Properties and Metropolitan University. Each organization wanted to explore working with SwiftGo on their previously planned Morrison projects. "Think you can win back your old clients?" Catherine asked, her eyes twinkling with anticipation. I studied the project specifications, recognizing my own sustainability requirements embedded throughout the contracts. "I designed most of these environmental systems myself," I replied. "SwiftGo can definitely deliver what these clients need." As I drove home that evening, my phone buzzed with a text message from David at Morrison's Structural Engineering Department. "Company meeting tomorrow morning. Word is they're announcing major layoffs. Tyler's decisions are destroying everything Harold built." Tyler Morrison had fired me believing I was obsolete, but his arrogance was systematically dismantling his father's 40-year legacy, one canceled contract at a time. My second week at SwiftGo brought an unexpected development that transformed a professional transition into something resembling corporate espionage. David Thompson from Morrison's Structural Engineering Department called my personal cell phone during lunch break, his voice carefully modulated to avoid detection by office surveillance systems. "Benita, I need to share something that will shock you," David whispered from his car in Morrison's parking garage. "Tyler held an all-staff meeting this morning where he announced his strategy for recovering from the recent contract losses. His plan is absolutely insane." David explained that Tyler had assembled the remaining senior staff in Morrison's main conference room, where he unveiled a presentation titled Modernizing Morrison Design Group for the 21st Century. The slides contained cost-cutting measures that would have been unthinkable under Harold's leadership. Tyler plans to slash employee benefits to compensate for lost revenue, David continued. Health insurance contributions will be reduced by 60%, forcing employees to pay an additional $400 monthly for family coverage. Retirement matching will be eliminated entirely. Paid time off will be cut from 3 weeks to 10 days annually. The benefit reductions alone would save Morrison approximately $200,000 per year. But David explained that the announcement had triggered an immediate exodus of experienced professionals. 3 senior architects had submitted resignation letters before lunch. Morrison's lead project manager was actively interviewing with competitors. Even administrative staff were updating resumes and making confidential phone calls to other firms. Sarah Miller from Morrison's accounting department reached out later that afternoon, requesting a coffee meeting at a downtown cafe far from Morrison's building. She arrived carrying a manila envelope that contained photocopies of Tyler's internal strategy documents. "Tyler is completely destroying company morale," Sarah said, sliding the envelope across our small table. "But his financial strategy is even worse. Look at this memo he sent to all department heads." I opened the envelope to find Tyler's confidential communication titled, Aggressive Competitive Positioning Against Market Threats. The document outlined his plan to undercut competitor bids by 20% across all project categories, sacrificing quality for quick profits and market share recovery. The memo specifically targeted SwiftGo as upstart competition that needed to be crushed through aggressive pricing and superior marketing. Tyler proposed using cheaper materials, simplified designs, and reduced labor costs to submit bids that competitors couldn't match while maintaining profitability. He's planning to abandon everything that made Morrison successful, Sarah explained. Quality construction, environmental responsibility, client relationships built on trust. Tyler thinks he can win contracts through price competition alone. Most damaging of all was Tyler's directive regarding sustainable architecture. The memo explicitly stated that green building requirements represent unnecessary expenses that limit profitability. All future Morrison projects would use conventional materials and standard construction methods to maximize efficiency and minimize costs. Sarah revealed additional information that made my heart race with competitive advantage. Tyler had scheduled presentations for 3 major upcoming bids: a shopping center renovation worth $6 million, a corporate headquarters valued at $12 million, and a municipal building project totaling $8 million. Morrison's strategy for each bid involved cutting environmental features to reduce costs below competitor estimates. Tyler genuinely believes that price is the only factor clients consider, Sarah continued. He doesn't understand that many organizations specifically seek environmental certifications for tax incentives, insurance reductions, and corporate responsibility goals. Lisa Thompson, Morrison's former project manager, joined us for dinner that evening at an Italian restaurant downtown. She brought copies of Tyler's communications with subcontractors, revealing his instructions to find the cheapest possible materials and labor for upcoming projects. Tyler sent emails telling our concrete suppliers to switch to standard cement instead of the eco-friendly alternatives Bonita always specified, Lisa explained. He's demanding that electrical contractors eliminate energy-efficient lighting systems. Even basic insulation requirements are being downgraded to reduce material costs. The intelligence continued flowing throughout the week. Jake Rodriguez from Morrison's engineering team shared Tyler's new policy mandating simplified structural designs that minimized steel usage and reduced construction complexity. The approach would save money short-term, but potentially create maintenance problems and limit building longevity. Catherine Wells listened to these reports with growing amazement during our weekly strategy meetings. Tyler appears to be deliberately sabotaging his father's reputation, she observed. We don't need to compete aggressively against Morrison anymore. We simply need to maintain our quality standards while they race toward the bottom. Armed with detailed knowledge of Morrison's bid strategies, I began preparing SwiftGo's proposals for the same projects Tyler was pursuing. For the municipal building bid, I designed comprehensive environmental systems that would qualify the city for federal sustainability grants worth $2 million. The initial construction cost would be higher, but the grant funding would more than compensate for premium materials and advanced systems. The corporate headquarters proposal included solar panels, geothermal heating, advanced insulation, and smart building technology that would reduce operating costs by 40% annually. While Tyler planned to submit a bare minimum bid focused only on initial construction expenses, SwiftGo's proposal emphasized long-term value and environmental responsibility. "Tyler is giving us a masterclass in how not to run an architecture firm," Catherine remarked as we reviewed Morrison's leaked strategy documents. "Every decision he makes creates opportunities for us to demonstrate superior value and professional competence." Meanwhile, Harold Morrison struggled to understand why his company was losing bids to competitors despite Tyler's aggressive pricing strategy. He didn't yet realize that his son's cost-cutting approach was actually driving clients toward firms that prioritized quality and sustainability over short-term savings. The information network that Morrison's disaffected employees had created was providing SwiftGo with unprecedented competitive intelligence. Tyler's arrogance had not only lost major contracts, but also turned his own staff into inadvertent allies for the competition. As I prepared for sleep each night, I reflected on the irony of Tyler's situation. He had fired me believing that youth and technology could replace experience and expertise. Instead, his decisions were systematically destroying everything his father had built, while elevating me to new heights of professional success and industry influence. Tyler Morrison's desperation reached critical mass when SwiftGo won 3 consecutive bids that Morrison had expected to secure easily. Unable to comprehend that his cost-cutting strategy was driving clients toward quality-focused competitors, Tyler concluded that I must be sabotaging Morrison through corporate espionage and intellectual property theft. Instead of examining his own policies or consulting with his father, Tyler decided to destroy my professional reputation through a coordinated character assassination campaign that would prove spectacularly misguided. The attack began on a Tuesday morning when Tyler personally called Jennifer Rodriguez at Greenfield Development, suggesting that SwiftGo's winning bid contained proprietary information that could only have come from Morrison's internal documents. "Miss Rodriguez, I need to bring serious concerns to your attention," Tyler said, his voice dripping with false sincerity. "SwiftGo's proposal for your office complex contains design elements that suspiciously resemble Morrison's confidential research. Benita Rodriguez clearly stole our trade secrets when she left our company." Jennifer listened patiently before responding with icy professionalism. "Mr. Morrison, are you suggesting that environmental architecture techniques are proprietary to your firm? Sustainable building principles are widely published in professional literature. Your accusations are not only baseless, but potentially slanderous." Tyler pressed forward, emboldened by his conviction that corporate sabotage explained Morrison's recent failures. "Benita's sudden departure and SwiftGo's immediate success cannot be coincidental. She obviously shared our client strategies and bidding information with your new contractor." "Mr. Morrison, I need to stop you right there," Jennifer interrupted, her voice hardening with authority. "Benita Rodriguez's reputation for integrity is impeccable throughout this industry. Her expertise in sustainable design predates her employment at your firm by several years. If you continue making these unfounded accusations, Greenfield Development will pursue legal action for defamation." The conversation ended with Jennifer immediately calling Harold Morrison to express outrage about his son's unprofessional conduct. Harold listened in horror as Jennifer described Tyler's baseless allegations and threatened to publicize Morrison's desperate attempt to blame former employees for their own competitive failures. Tyler's second target was Robert Chen at Riverside Properties, who had worked with me on 4 successful projects over 5 years. Tyler arranged a lunch meeting where he planned to undermine my credibility through carefully crafted insinuations about character defects and unethical behavior. "Robert, I want to share some confidential information about Benita Rodriguez that might explain SwiftGo's sudden interest in your projects." Tyler began cutting his steak with theatrical precision. Her abrupt departure from Morrison raised serious questions about her reliability and professional standards. Robert set down his fork and studied Tyler with the expression of someone recognizing amateur manipulation. "Tyler, what specific concerns are you referencing? Benita and I have collaborated on millions of dollars worth of construction with 0 problems. Sometimes people reveal their true character only when faced with pressure," Tyler suggested vaguely. Her decision to immediately join our biggest competitor indicates a disturbing lack of loyalty and questionable motivations. Robert's patience evaporated completely. Tyler, are you seriously attempting to slander one of this industry's most respected professionals? Benita Rodriguez has saved Riverside Properties hundreds of thousands of dollars through innovative environmental solutions. Your father should be ashamed of whatever management failures led to her departure. The lunch ended with Robert storming out and immediately posting a public statement on LinkedIn defending my character and announcing that Riverside Properties was blacklisting Morrison Design Group for unethical business practices and unprofessional conduct toward former employees. The statement went viral within hours as architecture professionals commented and expressed support for my reputation while condemning Tyler's desperate smear tactics. Industry leaders who had worked with me for years posted their own endorsements, creating a social media avalanche that buried Tyler's credibility beneath an avalanche of professional testimonials. Dean Patricia Hamilton at Metropolitan University received Tyler's most aggressive approach when he requested an emergency meeting to discuss serious concerns about contractor integrity. Dean Hamilton agreed to meet, curious about Tyler's claims and willing to investigate any legitimate issues affecting their student center project. Dean Hamilton, I believe SwiftGo obtained their winning bid through corporate espionage facilitated by a former Morrison employee, Tyler announced dramatically. Their proposal contains information that suggests internal knowledge of our competitive strategy. Dean Hamilton reviewed both proposals side by side, noting that SwiftGo's environmental systems were more comprehensive and innovative than Morrison's cost-focused approach. Mr. Morrison's SwiftGo's superior proposal appears to result from better expertise, not insider information. Their sustainability features align perfectly with our university's environmental commitments. Tyler's accusations became increasingly desperate as Dean Hamilton methodically dismantled his arguments. Benita Rodriguez clearly violated her employment agreements by sharing confidential information with competitors. Her actions represent serious ethical violations that should concern any potential client. Mr. Morrison, your accusations are not only unfounded but deeply concerning, Dean Hamilton replied firmly. Metropolitan University cannot be associated with a firm that attacks former employees without evidence. Your behavior creates a public relations nightmare that contradicts our institutional values. The meeting ended with Dean Hamilton calling an emergency board session to distance the university from Morrison Design Group's increasingly erratic conduct. They accelerated their rebid process to avoid any association with Tyler's character assassination campaign. Harold Morrison learned about his son's disastrous publicity offensive when his assistant Emma burst into his office carrying printouts of social media posts, news articles, and client communications. The architectural community was rallying around my reputation while condemning Morrison Design Group's desperate attacks on former employees. Tyler, what have you done? Harold demanded when he confronted his son that afternoon. Our industry reputation is being destroyed by your baseless accusations against one of the most respected architects in the region. She's obviously sharing our secrets, Tyler shouted defensively. How else would SwiftGo suddenly start winning every bid? There must be corporate espionage. Tyler, do you have any proof of these allegations? Harold asked quietly. Tyler had none. The awful truth became undeniable. His son had fired their most valuable architect in a fit of ego, handed her to their biggest competitor, then tried to destroy her reputation when his mistake became obvious to the entire industry. Meanwhile, I watched the drama unfold from SwiftGo's offices with a mixture of vindication and sadness. Tyler's attacks were backfiring spectacularly, but I took no pleasure in watching Harold's 40-year reputation suffer because of his son's arrogance and incompetence. Catherine Wells joined me in the conference room as we reviewed news coverage of Tyler's failed smear campaign. The architecture community is sending a clear message, she observed. Experience and expertise cannot be discredited by desperate character assassination. Tyler's behavior is actually enhancing your professional standing. As the week ended, Morrison Design Group found itself isolated and discredited, while SwiftGo's reputation for integrity and quality continued growing. Tyler's attempt to destroy my career had become the catalyst for his own professional downfall. Harold Morrison arrived at SwiftGo's offices on a gray Thursday morning without an appointment, his normally impeccable appearance disheveled from weeks of stress and sleepless nights. Catherine Wells agreed to meet with him in our main conference room, curious about this dramatic development that had the entire architecture industry buzzing with speculation. I watched Harold walk slowly to the window overlooking the harbor, his shoulders carrying the weight of 40 years of careful reputation building that his son had systematically demolished in less than a month. At 68, Harold looked like he had aged 5 years since Tyler's firing decision triggered the cascade of disasters. "Benita, I need to be completely honest with you about Morrison Design Group's situation." Harold began, his voice hoarse from stress. "We're hemorrhaging talent and contracts at an unprecedented rate. 8 senior employees have resigned in the past 2 weeks. 17 major clients have terminated or refused to renew their agreements. Our company valuation has plummeted by 63%. Catherine and I exchanged glances as Harold revealed the full scope of the damage. Morrison's remaining staff was demoralized and actively seeking employment elsewhere. The firm's reputation for quality and environmental responsibility had been shattered by Tyler's cost-cutting strategy and unprofessional attacks on former employees. My son made terrible mistakes that I failed to prevent," Harold continued, turning from the window to face us directly. "Tyler is young and let his ego override business sense. But Morrison Design Group represents my entire life's work. I cannot stand by and watch it die because of arrogance and poor judgment." Harold's offer stunned everyone in the room. He wanted me to return to Morrison as Chief Executive Officer with complete authority over all operations and Tyler's immediate removal from any decision-making responsibilities. The compensation package would be double my SwiftGo salary, plus 25% profit sharing, plus equity that would make me a partial owner of the company I had helped build. "You know our clients better than anyone," Harold pleaded. "You understand sustainable architecture better than any professional in this region. With your leadership, Morrison could recover and rebuild its reputation for excellence." I listened respectfully while considering the profound irony of the situation. 4 weeks earlier, Tyler had declared me obsolete and demanded my departure. Now his father was offering me control of the entire company to repair the damage his son's arrogance had caused. "Mr. Morrison, I appreciate your confidence and the generous offer," I replied carefully, "but my situation has fundamentally changed since Tyler's decision. At SwiftGo, I'm building something new rather than repairing something broken. Catherine has given me creative control, unlimited resources, and leadership that trusts my professional judgment completely." Harold's face reflected growing desperation as he realized I was not automatically interested in returning to Morrison. "We could restructure the entire company around your vision for sustainable architecture. Tyler would have no involvement whatsoever. You would have absolute authority to rebuild our reputation." Before I could respond, Catherine Wells cleared her throat and smiled with the satisfaction of someone holding winning cards in a high-stakes poker game. "Mr. Morrison, I need to share some information that makes this conversation even more interesting." Catherine opened her portfolio and spread several legal documents across the conference table. SwiftGo has been negotiating with bankruptcy specialists about acquiring Morrison's remaining assets through structured liquidation proceedings. We're prepared to purchase your client list project portfolio office lease and intellectual property rights. Harold's face turned pale as Catherine explained SwiftGo's acquisition strategy. The purchase would be conducted through bankruptcy court, allowing SwiftGo to cherry-pick Morrison's most valuable resources while eliminating their debt obligations and legal liabilities. Tyler's decisions have created an opportunity for SwiftGo to expand rapidly by absorbing what remains of Morrison Design Group, Catherine continued. "We can acquire your best clients and projects without inheriting the financial problems or reputation damage your son has caused." I watched Harold process the implications of SwiftGo's plan. Tyler had not merely fired their lead architect and lost major contracts. His systematic destruction of company morale and client relationships had created conditions for their biggest competitor to acquire Morrison's assets at bankruptcy prices. "We don't need to compete with Morrison anymore," Catherine explained with professional courtesy. "We're positioned to buy whatever survives Tyler's management decisions." Harold sank into his chair as the full scope of his son's catastrophic leadership became clear. Tyler's arrogance had not only eliminated millions of dollars in revenue, but had also created circumstances that would result in their company's complete absorption by SwiftGo Architecture. "There is one thing I can offer," I said, gently recognizing Harold's genuine anguish about his life's work. "I'll ensure that SwiftGo treats Morrison employees fairly during the acquisition process. Talented architects and engineers will be offered positions with our merged company. Administrative staff will receive severance packages and employment references. Harold looked up with desperate hope. What about Tyler? Could he have any role in the new organization? Catherine and I exchanged meaningful looks before I responded. Harold Tyler's actions have damaged relationships throughout the architecture industry. His presence would create liability for any professional firm. SwiftGo cannot risk our reputation by associating with someone who has demonstrated such poor judgment and unprofessional conduct. The meeting ended with Harold signing a preliminary agreement for SwiftGo's acquisition of Morrison's assets. He would receive fair market value for tangible property, while SwiftGo assumed responsibility for outstanding projects and employee transitions. As Harold prepared to leave, he turned back with one final question. Benita, how did everything change so quickly? 4 weeks ago, we were successful competitors. Now you're acquiring our entire company. I considered his question carefully before responding. Mr. Morrison Tyler fired me believing that experience could be replaced by youth and technology. But sustainable architecture requires knowledge that develops over many years through practical application. When he discarded my expertise, he eliminated Morrison's competitive advantage in the industry's fastest-growing sector. Harold nodded sadly and walked toward the elevator, carrying the weight of watching his son's arrogance destroy everything he had spent 4 decades building. Tyler Morrison had set out to modernize his father's company by eliminating obsolete employees. Instead, his decisions had made Morrison Design Group itself obsolete, while elevating me to a position of unprecedented influence and success in the architecture industry. 6 months after Tyler Morrison declared me obsolete, I stood in the expanded offices of SwiftGo Morrison Architecture, gazing through floor-to-ceiling windows at the city skyline that now included 3 buildings designed under my leadership. The merger had created the region's largest sustainable architecture firm with 87 employees and a project portfolio exceeding $40 million annually. Catherine Wells had been promoted to chairman of the board, while I assumed the role of Senior Vice President of Design Innovation, overseeing 12 senior architects and managing relationships with our most prestigious clients. The transformation exceeded everyone's expectations, as former Morrison employees brought decades of construction experience, while SwiftGo provided financial stability and growth resources. My office walls displayed awards from the American Institute of Architects recognition for innovative environmental design, and framed photographs from groundbreaking ceremonies where sustainable buildings began rising toward the sky. But the most meaningful item remained a handwritten note from Harold Morrison. Thank you for showing us that revenge doesn't require destruction. Your success was the perfect response to Tyler's mistake. The Metropolitan University Student Center, my first major project as SwiftGo's lead designer, had broken ground 3 months earlier, with a ceremony attended by Governor Williams and Environmental Protection Agency administrators. The building incorporated solar panels, generating 70% of necessary electricity rainwater collection systems, supplying rooftop gardens and natural lighting designs that would reduce energy consumption by 45% compared to conventional dormitories. National architecture magazines featured the student center design as a model for educational buildings that prioritize environmental responsibility while creating inspiring spaces for learning and collaboration. The project's success attracted inquiries from universities across the country seeking similar innovative approaches to campus construction. Harold Morrison had accepted a consulting position with the merged firm, sharing 4 decades of industry knowledge while watching his life's work flourish under new leadership. He visited my office monthly to discuss upcoming projects and provide historical context for client relationships he had cultivated over many years. Benita, I need to apologize again for Tyler's behavior, Harold said during our most recent meeting. As his father, I failed to teach him proper respect for experienced professionals and collaborative leadership principles. I had grown comfortable with these conversations as Harold processed his son's dramatic fall from inherited privilege to industry exile. Mr. Morrison Tyler's actions taught everyone involved valuable lessons about humility, expertise, and the consequences of arrogance. Sometimes the worst experiences create opportunities for the most important growth. Tyler's journey had proven more complex and ultimately more redemptive than anyone anticipated. The architecture industry's complete rejection of his character and professional competence had forced him to reassess everything about his approach to business and relationships. After 6 months of unemployment and growing desperation, Tyler finally secured a junior architect position at Hartwell Residential Design, a small firm specializing in affordable housing construction. The salary was $32,000 annually, less than half of what I had earned before he fired me, with no benefits and no decision-making authority. Working under demanding supervisors had humbled Tyler completely. His direct manager, Maria Gonzalez, was a 48-year-old architect who had built her reputation through 20 years of meticulous attention to detail and respectful collaboration with colleagues. She became an unexpected mentor, teaching Tyler that true leadership requires earning respect through competence and character, rather than inheritance and intimidation. Maria doesn't care about my family connections or my education at expensive schools, Tyler had told his father recently. She judges me entirely on work quality and professional behavior. It's the first time anyone has held me accountable for actual performance. During a chance encounter at the Regional Architecture Conference last month, Tyler approached me with genuine remorse and newfound maturity. He had lost 20 pounds, grown a beard, and carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had learned difficult lessons through painful experience. Benita, I owe you an apology that I've practiced for months without finding adequate words, Tyler said, his voice steady and sincere. I destroyed everything my father built because I thought being young made me smarter than experienced professionals. I was wrong about everything, and I'm sorry for how I treated you and the damage I caused. I accepted his apology gracefully, recognizing the genuine personal growth behind his words. Tyler getting fired was devastating at the time, but it forced me to recognize my true professional value. Sometimes the worst thing that happens opens the door to the best opportunities. Our conversation led to an unexpected collaboration. Tyler's current firm specializes in affordable housing, an area where SwiftGo Morrison wanted to expand our social impact initiatives. I offered to mentor Tyler on sustainable design principles for low-income communities, creating a bridge between our companies that could benefit families needing quality housing at reasonable costs. I'd like to learn from someone who actually understands environmental architecture, Tyler said humbly. Maria says the best architects never stop learning from colleagues who have more experience. Today, I spend considerable time reviewing proposals from junior architects, remembering my own early career struggles and the mentors who guided my professional development. I established a company-wide mentorship program, pairing experienced designers with newcomers, ensuring that knowledge transfers smoothly between generations, rather than creating destructive conflicts based on age bias and technological misunderstanding. SwiftGo Morrison Architecture now employs 112 people across 4 office locations, many of them former Morrison staff who followed my leadership toward a more collaborative and environmentally focused future. Tyler's moment of arrogance had inadvertently created opportunities for dozens of careers to flourish while advancing sustainable construction practices throughout the region. The lesson resonates far beyond architecture when someone underestimates your worth. The most powerful response isn't anger or retaliation, but demonstrating your true capabilities in an environment that appreciates and rewards them. Success becomes the sweetest revenge, especially when it lifts others along the way while contributing to meaningful progress in your chosen field. As evening light fades over the harbor, I reflect on the unexpected journey from devastating termination to professional triumph and industry leadership. Tyler's attempt to discard me as obsolete ultimately proved that experience, integrity, and expertise create lasting value that transcends age, technology, or inherited privilege. The architecture world learned an important lesson about the dangers of dismissing experienced professionals in favor of youth and superficial innovation. True progress requires combining technological advancement with practical wisdom that develops only through years of dedicated practice and continuous learning. Have you ever been underestimated because of your age, experience level, or background? How did you prove your worth when someone dismissed your capabilities? Share your story in the comments below and let us know how you turned a setback into a comeback. Don't forget to like this video if it inspired you. Subscribe for more stories about overcoming workplace challenges and achieving professional success, and share this with anyone who needs encouragement to value their own expertise. Thank you for joining me on this journey of growth, resilience, and ultimate triumph. Remember, your experience and knowledge are never obsolete when you find the right environment to showcase them. Keep building your dreams, and I'll see you in the next story.